We are here at the International Festival of Literature and Translation of Iași with Morten Strøksnes, and we are going to talk about shark drunk, the art of catching a large shark from a tiny rubber dinghy in a big ocean. In Romanian, Cartea, mării, Arta de a prinde un rechin uriaș într-o barcă pneumatică pe o mare întinsă în patru anotimpuri. Traducere din limba norvegiană de Dianei Polgar. Hello, Morten. How was your travel? When did you get here? And is this your first time in Romania?
No, I've been many times to Romania. I love Romania. It's true. I've been all over Romania, and like more than 20 years ago, I came here. I wrote a book. It's called Automobil. It's about me buying an old Ford car in Norway and driving through. First taking a cargo ship over the Baltic Sea and going through Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, Moldova, Romania, Bulgaria, and all the way to Istanbul.
Pretty amazing.
Yes, it's a travel book. And of course, before you got integrated into the European Union and NATO and all that, so it was sort of the last chance. I wanted to see these countries before that, and I'm glad I did.
I'm glad you did too, but is it translated in Romanian? I didn't find it.
No, I even wrote a chapter especially about Iași. Iași.
But then it should be translated, if you ask me.
Well, it's not up to me. Maybe today it would be interesting because it's 20 years. It's something. So people could find it interesting today, and maybe more so in 40 years. I don't know.
I would be very interested to read it, that's for sure. Here at the podcast, I usually start by asking my guests to help us through their writing space. So how does your last writing space look like or feels like? Do you have any rituals?
Yes, I do have rituals, and we have. I used to live I'm from the north of Norway. We used to live in Oslo, but my wife, she had this job in Lillehammer. You may have heard of it because they had the Olympics. It's and all that. So when we moved there, we had quite a big house, and in this house I have my office and a library, and all I need for writing. So this is my writing space, and like now I'm traveling for 4 days. I can read, but I could not write. It's I do need this rituals. Mm.
So when you travel, you don't write at all?
Just notes. I try to read, but I'm not that organized. I can't focus everywhere. I need the quietness and isolation to write.
I do remember reading in an interview that you wrote Shark Drunk behind the desk in Berlin, if I was right.
Oh, that's true. I was partly living in Berlin. It's also written at some isolated place in the north of Norway. Let me say one thing. You call it, because the English translation is shark drunk. Yeah, it's havboka in Norwegian, and it was translated, I'm not sure, 28, 29 languages. The only one that do not have the literal translation are the English. They found, shark drunk more sexy or something. But I'm not too comfortable with the title. It's the Book of the Sea. It sounds like, I don't know, shark drunk. Maybe it's a bit funny or a bit more macho, but I'm more comfortable with the Book of the Sea and the long subtitle.
I really wanted to talk to you about this. Actually, I even wrote in my notes that they translated it in a funny way. I guess it's amusing about how the Greenland shark has these toxins and it can make you drunk in a way. Let's see, probably that's why.
Yes, and back in the old times in the north of Norway, they had this expression, "haifull." It means shark drunk.
Well, it's interesting. But in Norwegian, is it the ocean book or still the sea book?
Well, the Book of the Sea. Yeah, that's Norwegian havboka. It's very simple. It's just one word. So maybe, what's the Romanian title again?
Cartea, mării. It's the book of the sea.
Yes, yes, excellent, perfect.
I love it too. How long did it take to do the research for this book, and how hard was it? Did you know from the start what you wanted to do, or did you find it out on the way?
Because this is non-fiction, so maybe, as it says in the book, as it is described in the book, we almost got the Greenland shark on the first. Then the book would never have appeared. It would just have been an article or something in a magazine or a paper. But it went on for a couple of years, and finally we had to stop. So that's why I was able to go to this place during 4 seasons, all the seasons of the year. And I didn't know if it was ever going to be a book even.
That's a perspective.
If we had it on the first time we tried, well, that's it. I wouldn't. Mission accomplished.
But how disappointed were you when you didn't get it in the first on the first try?
No, to be honest, I was happy because we could go on, and it needs the season. It needs lots of space around it. The book to have all these experiences and to have all these small essays and experiments and all the descriptions about the ocean from all the different angles. And trying to catch the shark, it was only an excuse for all the other stuff. It's only like sort of an engine in the book, a motor. It's not so. I'm not obsessed with killing that shark, not at all. My friend is.
Your friend seemed quite obsessed with it.
Yeah, but he has some reason to, and he's a very ecological person otherwise. But it's a bit. Maybe you can say you are two idiots trying to kill this innocent shark. I don't care. You can. It's okay, because there's something dark in it. It's something universally human, maybe even. We are trying to control nature, and we can. So we do these things.
I was sitting there in my kitchen in South Romania. There's no sea where I live, and it's a very dry place. It rains very little, if at all. Yeah. And I was just sitting there in my kitchen because that's where I work, that's where I read. I spend a lot of time in my kitchen. And I was thinking, what are these guys doing? They are going on the sea to catch a Greenland shark. But why? What are they doing? But at some point in the book, Hugo you ask him, why the Greenland shark? Why must you do this? And he's like, how he says that he'd always wanted to catch a Greenland shark, or just to see it, not actually catch it.
Yes, he got an obsession with it because, okay, Hugo is from Lofoten. He's an artist, and his family are sort of fishermen, fisher stations in, as long as you can go back, as long as they know, that's what they've been doing. So Hugo has been on the sea. He had his own boat since he was 5. Yeah, and he's now almost 70. He had boats all the time, and he seen everything. He caught every type of fish. He's been even partly a fisherman, but he's mostly an artist. And when he was a kid, there's only one thing he never saw. It's this Greenland shark. He only heard his grandfather, his uncle talk about it because it's a deep sea shark. You don't see it. It's sort of we call it a monster. Of course, it's not a monster, but it can be like 1,200 kilos, 6-7 meters, and it's a very peculiar animal. It's a lot of strange capacities, a lot of strange qualities to it. It's also a mythological fish. So most people, you know, we heard his grandfather, we heard his uncle, his father talk about this monster in inverted commas, and most people, most normal people would just forget about it. Not Hugo. He wants to experience everything, and this is the sort of the fish he know it's there all the time. He's at sea. He knows it's under him, maybe 200, 300, 400 meters. Most people would just let it go. No, he decides. When this book starts, he asked me, Morten, do you want? I need to see I'm going to catch this shark in the old way from my small rubber boat. Are you coming with me to do this? I don't know why, but I just needed less than a second to say yes, because he's a great guy, and I've been looking for some sort of vehicle, some sort of excuse to go out to sea, to describe it. What should I do? Should I go on a trawler or something? No, it's been done. It's very destructive. How can I write a book about the sea? And I immediately had the feeling this could be it. Not if we had the shark in the first try, then it would be an article, but we didn't. So
life in the sea seems fascinating, but also quite scary to someone who lives on the land a lot, like almost all the time. But I was curious, why the sea? Why is it that you wanted to write a book about the sea so much? What is it about it? Is it because you say in the book, the sea doesn't need us, however, we can't live without it? I found it very poetic.
I'm not sure how to answer this because, to be honest, I see no reason not to write a book about the sea. It's
that's a great answer.
It's like 70% of our planet is sea. Mm-hmm. Most of the seabed is deep down there in the darkness. It's like our subconscious or something, and we don't know much about it. We don't know much about life down there. It's unexplored. We know more about the surface of the moon, and all we do know, every time they have expeditions, the marine biologists, to do research, they find new species, they find fantastic life. There's all sorts of this is a parallel universe of the evolution down there, and with the propensities, what's the word in English? They have all sorts of strange abilities. They produce their own light and so forth. Things go very slow down there, and you have some fantastic creatures. Some of them described in mythology, but some of them also exist. So I try to go into this world of the sea from all angles, from marine biology, poetry, mythology, geology. So it's and also, you know, the sea. It's where life came from on Earth, and it's the sea is the great climate regulator on this planet. Not the rainforest, yes, it's important, but most life and everything connected to climate, it's the sea.
So there's no reason not to write about it, as you said. I read once that Norway introduced salmon sushi in Japan. I have no idea if that's correct. But what I do know is that when I was reading your book, I thought about this Japanese anime I watched at some point, Bakuman. It's about the art of making manga. And one male character says to his wife at some point, "Let our son be. Men have dreams women can't understand." Well, leaving aside the fact that it sounds a bit sexist to my generation, is catching a Greenland shark a dream, a man dream, or a writer's quest?
No. I'm not sure if, like, my wife or my previous girlfriends would have had this idea. So maybe it's a little bit only this. Mm-hmm. I can see the point, if you will call it, I don't know, a little bit macho or something. Mm-hmm. But we are not macho. That's not the instinct. That's not what's going on here. And everything else, in this book is not particularly sexed. It's not gendered. The sea is a very feminine thing, and life in the sea, it's just as interesting for women as for men, I would think. And yeah.
I think so too. I wouldn't go catching a shark, but I do understand the feeling behind it. I didn't find your book sexist at all. I was just wondering about the quest per se. If I get the feeling from Hugo that it's like a dream he'd always had, and he makes it a quest. So
he makes it a quest. That's it. And I think in the others and everything else that goes on in the book, and he is a central character. It's he and the sea and this fishing station on the island. Those are the main characters, as far as I can see. And everything else about him is not macho. He's a very environmentally conscious man, and he's very organically in his head. He's more or less a hippie. So it's not the typical thing for him to have this sort of thing. It's a strange obsession. I'm not sure if you could explain it. At the end of the book, I say something like you mentioned, why are we doing this? Well, what's the purpose? It seems pretty stupid if you look at it from the outside. And now we spent like 2 years, and coming back and forth, it's costing me too much now. And well, do what you want. I need this. And I'm not obsessed. But the day before, he told me, when we were looking at the sky, we were out at the sea. He can see a cloud. Morten, can you see that it's shaped like a Greenland shark? No, I can't.
I love that. So it took you 2 years? That long was the research? I was also very curious.
Well, that's the research. That's the field work. But yes, it's a lot of research also in libraries and reading and also writing, because it's not it's a non-fiction book, but I try to use all the almost genre, from the poetic to the hardcore science and the mythological, and I wanted to let the text itself, the writing itself, be influenced by this, to be free and open like the sea.
How difficult is to do this type of research? Life in Skrova, am I saying this right, seems very, very hard somehow for someone who doesn't live by the sea. I feel like there's a lot of work and things should be done in a certain way for the fish not to go bad, for instance. Yes, so how difficult is to do research for this type of book? And also, I was wondering about your method. You do the field work and then you have to write. And how do you do about your notes? Do you have a method, something to help you with the writing?
Well, I'm from the same culture. I'm also from the coast of the north of Norway, and we have always depended on the sea. And it's a deep, deep culture historically of fishing, taking care of the sea, exporting the fish, salting it, drying it, everything, and moving with the seasons to different types of fisheries. So that's also a part of the book. This specific place, and by the cold sea there, it's cold and it's dangerous. It's deadly because you have storms, and so many people have drowned and died during the centuries, thousands. But it's also so rich and abundant and full of life, and the best fisheries in Europe are there. So it's a cultural history of that, and to do the research on the place like this, it's like you say, we are in a small boat. It's almost impossible to write there. So my rituals would be go there and with my camera and with my notebooks, and every time we come back to shore, I write everything down, and also the camera is a good notebook in that sort of situation.
I'm certain there are many beautiful words in Norwegian. It's a language I don't know much about, but I did find a word in the book that I really liked. I found it stunning, and it was very hard for me to find out how to pronounce it a little, because I do have this friend who knows Norwegian, and he was like, I don't know this word. Where did you get it from? From this book. You say in the book it's the sound the sea makes when it hits the shore on a gentle summer night, and it's something like Siabortorn.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Tell me something about it.
Well, you see, this old culture is, that's also a theme in the book. This old culture is slowly dying because the fishing industry is getting more and more industrialized. It's the government don't have almost trying to wipe out this old culture, which has its own language for the sea, its own methods of doing things that you can't teach them in school. You need to be on the boat and have the old ones to teach the young ones where the fish are, how you can navigate, all the qualities of the fish, and when to fish when the moon is there, blah blah blah. The herring will be there, guaranteed, and all I'm trying to record this old culture, and in the book I also use a lot of words that a normal Norwegian wouldn't understand them, or they would not be familiar with these words. And I'm not making excuses, I'm just using them as they are a natural part of the vocabulary. So when it was became a success, and all these translators started to contact me, Morten, this word and this word and this word is not in any dictionary. What does it really mean? I had to make them a dictionary in English so they could understand them. So it's to explain them for them.
But that's why my friend didn't know the word, I guess. But
and it's not just for fun, because I think it's I have this idea that the sort of there's a deep ecology in this knowledge and in this language, and when it's lost, something very important is lost. So I try to keep it artificially alive.
I do understand that a lot, and there's this author I really like, a poet, Natalie Diaz, who is trying to preserve the Mojave language, so it kind of strikes me it's the same struggle. It's beautiful and hard in the same way.
The closeness, we have lost the closeness to our history, and to, for let's say 4,000 years, the sea, the fishing, all that all through history, it's been the main reason for living up there, for harvesting from the sea. But then, in the 1970s, we found the oil, and Norway changed a lot, and the sea and this old culture became more and more abstract. Something maybe your grandfather and grandmother knew about, they were part of it, but it's the soul of the nation, but we are getting alienated from our own soul. And not only the oil, also the salmon farming, which is destroying our fjords and polluting them big time. Like me, I would never, never ever eat farmed salmon for political reasons, but also for ecological and health reasons. They use all sorts of shit, and when they take over a fjord, sometimes it's almost destroyed. So it's a shameful chapter, and our government always want to expand it more and more. Sometimes in breach of international conventions and our own laws of pollution.
That doesn't sound very good. I did find reading your book that you talk about the ecology in many different ways without drawing radical conclusions. And I was curious, what was your take on the matter?
My take on that was very clear.
Yes.
my aim was to, just like me, instead of pointing fingers, like I said to you now, with the fish farming industry, it's not in the book. Because this book is not about being political, critical, it's about trying to make the reader love the sea like I do, and feel the importance of it, instead of saying, oh, we are so bad, we should be ashamed to... No, it's not like that. I try to make it... try to trust the reader to make their own conclusions in that way, and yeah.
I did feel reading that. When I first started reading your book, I thought, am I reading a sort of contemporary Moby Dick written by a contemporary Hemingway? I just had that feeling in the first pages.
You're not the first one, and yes, it's a famous book, and many people make that connection because of that, but I don't think so. It's a quite open book, and yeah. You mentioned maybe there's a little macho element in Catching the Shark. It was one radical feminist wrote a long essay on this book and making us making the Greenland shark a sexual object and calling us our gay passions. And the women are not there because we are what's the word, misogynistic. It's obviously not true, and that article or that essay was totally crazy. It's a book about me and him doing this thing on the sea, and there's not too many women around, and like Hugo's wife, she had no interest in being part of that book. So.
Well, I'm glad you talked about it, so your Romanian readers would have the correct aspect in this regard.
I don't know what's
not
correct this, but it's one aspect.
Well, I didn't find it sexist, and I'm a woman reading a book, so...
it's not sexist. It just isn't.
No. It just isn't.
There's not one negative... it's not much about women there, but it's not about women or us. It's not about land even. It's not about society. It's about the sea.
It's about the sea.
And yes, that's it.
I also thought that it's a bit about friendship as well. About the friendship between you and Hugo. Could you please tell us his entire name on the podcast?
Yes, Hugo Aasjord, artist. He's a bit of or his biggest fear when I was writing this book was that he should be portrayed as the crocodile Dundee of the sea. And in some way I can see that because he's so much, he's almost like a 50% sea mammal himself or something. But it's not only that, he's also a very sophisticated man. He was educated from he was 16 to 22. Very early he went to this art academy in Münster in Germany, and he is an artist and a very interesting, original guy. So
he does seem so. I don't know many deal of people who want to catch a Greenland shark, just to see it.
Yeah, no, it's probably the only one.
The Book of Sea was published in 2015, I guess, and it was translated in 2020 in Romania. But since then, you've read other you've written other books, I believe, and the last one is Lumolt's Ghost. Mm-hmm. Could you tell us something?
Yes, this is. It's a book. It's for me. It's much more work consuming. It took much longer time because I've been working on this book for 20 years. It's than the Book of the Sea. It's a book about this Norwegian tropical explorer called Carl Lumholtz, And he was very famous he died 100 years ago, last year. The book was published last year. He was very famous when he died, just like our polar explorers. He was like Nansen, Amundsen, Lumholtz, but he was then completely forgotten. And no, he was completely forgotten. He wrote many books. He was in Australia, in the Sierra Madre Mountains of Mexico, Borneo, Indonesia, the deserts or the unexplored parts of the US. And it's a sort of a biography, but not only a biography. And to write this book it's the first biography, so I had to go through huge archives in America, in Great Britain, in Norway. And when I sort of had the control of his life, I also traveled in his footsteps, all the places he did expeditions, almost step by step to exactly the same places, to connect this sort of dead white male explorer in the past to the present, to see how these landscapes, all these indigenous people are really doing. So it's not so much a book about him. He's just like it's everything about him that's around him. It's a sort of external biography because he meets the most interesting people, from presidents, and he's in the highest circles of American and European society, but he's also in this primitive, for years and years on these primitive expeditions, very rough, need to sleep on the ground, tropical diseases, very bad food, and taking a great toll on his health and his physical and mental health maybe. So it's a perfect sort of vehicle or prism for me to use to explain almost the world, because he's all over the world, and it's about, of course, also colonialism, globalization. It's an early stage of science, many sciences getting modern, like anthropology. He was also an anthropology, and he was also a huge collector of animals and the cultural artifacts of these indigenous people that he visited and stayed with for years. And there's so many things going on there. So it was a huge amount of work for me to do to trying to make it into a book. So as his notes book alone are like more than 12,000 pages in handwritten, difficult handwriting. Wow. And that kind of thing.
Seems like a lot of work.
A lot of work, and this almost, to be honest, it's almost killed me. Yes,
I hope not literally.
Yes, almost literally. But I'm glad I had it done. But I will never be able to do a work of this magnitude again. It's that, like I said, it took me 20 years from archive to archive, and also the travels.
It sounds very interesting. I really want to read it now. Do you think it will be translated in Romanian? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea. I can only hope so. There are a few translators working on it now. Like the Danish, that's easy, but also like Portuguese, Dutch, Italian. I'm hoping English, Spanish, and Romanian too.
I'm really hoping that too. Do you think that writers have a political responsibilities more than the average person who doesn't write, let's say?
Oh, that's a difficult one. It depends what you write about, I would say. I wouldn't say that categorically at all, no. You can be an apolitical writer if you want. But you could also look at it from the other angle. Everything is political. And I mean, in my books, I'm quite a political person. I take it out in journalism. And op-eds, essays, reportage. and try to be not too obviously political in the books. There's other methods of persuasion than the direct political rhetoric or speech. So you can be political even if you don't seem to be political, and depends. If you if you write about something and you avoid the political, you are probably a bit of a coward.
Some writers say that writing per se is a political act. How do you feel about that?
Well, yes and no. It depends again. It could be what's the word? Escapism, also, and you could say also escapism is a political act, but it's not positive. It doesn't make the world any better. So.
Did you always know you were going to become a journalist and a non-fiction writer, or is it something you came?
And maybe not always. It was from early on a dream, but almost an impossible dream. You know, it's nothing. I come from a working class background in the north of Norway. No one in this region or in my family ever became something like a writer. And I think as soon I discovered, I had the opportunity to go to university. It can be done. It only needs hard work and persistence. Then you can be a writer. And so I was not good at anything else in particular. I don't like having a boss. So also the being an independent person was very important to me, and also motivating me a lot too.
I don't like having a boss either, but it's almost 7 years since I have a boss, and it's my kid. Yeah, it's my kid. My kid is my boss. She's a terrible boss, to be honest.
Yeah, in that sense, I also have a boss. He's 8 years old.
So you know how it feels like. Do you have any advice for writers who aspire to become like you? People who want to be journalists or non-fiction writers? Is there anything you wish you would have known sooner in your career?
No, not really. I think maybe I was born that way. I was always quite independent and and also a bit skeptical to the official truth. Maybe something went wrong in my childhood. I think maybe it did, but and making me feel like an outsider. But the most important thing is to be honest and brave, and don't compromise. People have a very good bullshit detectors. Mm. They can sense it if you are a bit dishonest, or not brave enough, or if you are not telling everything. And
they can tell.
And as you asked me about the journalism thing, there's today it's a sort of idea that in journalism that you are your duty is to be neutral and objective. Most instances, this is very artificial. It's a very artificial way of seeing writing. You are, when you are a journalist, you are not neutral. You are in total control of this text if your editor let you. And it's your choices, invisible choices, that is shaping the idea the reader will have from reading this text. Okay, this... I didn't explain this really well. I can hear it myself, but it's hard to...
I think I got the gist of it.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I was thinking that maybe it's because I'm also a poet, but I did have the tendency to read your book like a novel as well. So do you have any particular wishes in this regard? I'm talking about the Book of Sea. Do you wish people would read it as an investigation or, I don't know, as a non-fiction book, or simply as a... Could they just read it as a novel as well, with a lot of informative, cool stuff and maybe philosophical inquiries too?
Yes, it's philosophical and it's some parts poetic and going into the language of mythology. And to me, it's... I don't think they should read it as a novel, because it isn't. Everything there is true, and truth is an extra value for a text. If you read it as a novel, everything in there could be invented. Nothing is invented. So, yeah. So don't do that. But when you think about it, I think it's not a sharp border, a sharp fence between fiction and non-fiction. It's just, to me, it's writing. Yes, it's true, but apart from that, all the tools of writing, the whole toolbox, except making stuff up and not telling the reader, is available for me as a non-fiction writer.
I always find it reassuring when a writer tells me, don't read my book like that, or do read my book like that. I think it's important in this contemporary space we have. We can talk more freely and easily about it, and even though the reader has some, power over the book they read as it happens, it's also great that we can actually talk about this and we can see the perspective of the writer, and the writer might say, I'm not saying that, so please don't say I'm saying that.
Yeah. I see your point totally. And this has, to be honest, of course it was a big surprise to me when this book became a huge success. It's no reason to think that two, middle-aged men in a small boat in the north of Norway not getting the fish they want, it doesn't seem like the recipe for a success. But like my agent, wow, Morten, I think this could, she said it immediately. And you're being very polite, Monica. Yeah, you need to say those things, blah, 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 let's see. Yeah, hope someone will read it. But then I get reactions from almost all over the world, and people connect to it for reasons maybe I'm not aware of, but because it has some sort of existential motives in it, like our place in on this planet, almost in the universe, and in the deep ecology of everything. So.
I loved it. So it's not usually what I would read. So it was really interesting for me. I started reading it because I was going to FILIT, and I read a bit about it, and I found it so interesting. And the idea that I could actually meet the author made me want to read it even more. And I was quite impressed. And I spent a great time reading your book. So thank you for writing it.
You are so kind. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
I do have one almost last question for you, and you did speak a bit about it, but I'm curious, how do we draw a line, and if there is any need to do so, between what is called hard fact and what is literary nuance?
Do you need to draw a line? I think the reader will, it will be like in this book, the reader will see the difference. There's quite a few footnotes, not too many, where I need it. But most of the time, it's the thing is in the writing. You can tell it's not. doesn't need a footnote. It's just language and two guys, my mind, trying to make sense of it all, and also to make it into beautiful writing. That's the hardest thing. It's not easy. So in this book, it's like the whole spectrum of writing, almost from the hard science to poetry, and making it feel like an organic whole, the text. And I think to be not so what's the word? Not so modest. I think it is one text, and it can be. It's one organic whole, the text, and I don't know why that is, but there's also a lot of poetry in science, and science in poetry. They are connected. It's about understanding the world and making sense of everything by different methods. Also mythology.
Mythology is very poetic, if you ask me.
Yes, very poetic, but also sort of an expression of the common, not the common, but collective unconscious, like the knowledge that the people have deep, and how from way back in history, how you should relate to nature and all these kind of things, and it's an expression of that.
And it's beautiful.
And it's beautiful. And it's poetry, but also not only in inverted commas poetry. It's more than that.
How is writing in these troubling war times? Are you working on something? How do you feel about it?
Yes, I am. I don't like talk about the unfinished projects, but I grew up very close to the border of Russia, and it's connected to that. My first book was from the Middle East, and it's quite political, but also not by pointing fingers, just by showing. And you can do a lot with showing, and instead of telling. If you see my point,
I
let people tell you their story, and it's I don't know how to explain this, but I'm in my hotel room now, like yesterday evening, watching the news. Everything is about the Middle East, Israel, Palestine. It's the same. It's like nothing changed for 25 years. Nothing changed there. It's amazing, but it's such a long story, and let's not. I think you don't need this for your listeners.
Yes, I think we should end it now, because it's been some time, and I'm sure there are other things you have to see here in FILIT. But I do want to ask you if there's something you want to share with your Romanian readers.
Yes. You live in such an interesting country. With it's so diverse, and it's so many different histories and landscapes and people and culture. I find it so interesting, the folk culture and also the modern history. It's very rich, and people are. I'm not saying this to flatter your readers, the Romanians. I also every time I came here, I had. Met so many nice people, so be proud of it and take care of it, and also yes, Romania is such a. I always tell my friends, we're going on holiday and we don't know where. Go to Romania, I tell them. It's the big secret of Europe when it comes to traveling and looking. History and culture and all that, and landscapes, nature. Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you for today. I'm really happy to have met you, to have read you, and I hope to do it in the future in translation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.